everyone. It's really nice to be back. And you know the drill. We're going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute to get here. And then we'll dive right into the conversation with my wonderful guest. Alrighty, so let's give you guys another second to just get right in here so we could start this lovely conversation that I have here with my guest. All right, I think we can go ahead and dive right in. Welcome, everybody, and welcome back to DSS Break. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're here live every Thursday to talk about data science experiences in a 15-minute break. I'm Anna Anderson, CEO and founder of Formulated by, the home of Data Science Salon, and I'm streaming live here from our headquarters in the Design District in the heart of Miami. And today I'm really excited to welcome Supriya Bachal, a senior data scientist at Ryder System, where she works primarily on building machine learning engines to support various business functions, and she specializes in machine learning and computer vision. Supriya also has a master's of science in data science from Michigan Technological University and was a recipient of the David House Fellowship. That's awesome and incredible. Welcome, Supriya, and I'm very happy to have you here. Maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this position that you're in right now.
Sure, Anna. Likewise, thank you so much for having me on your your broadcast, and this is awesome. For me, how I got into Rider Systems was, as you guys already know, I did my master's in data science, so the path ahead was kind of obvious. So I got into a data scientist position at a battery manufacturing company in Detroit, and then it was mostly automotive data science for me after that. But one of my contacts who I met at a conference was happened to be working with Ryder at that time, and he said, "Hey, we're hiring for a couple of positions, and you should send in your resume." So that's how it happened, and then it's been a great journey with Ryder ever since, and I'm having a lot of fun with the supply chain data science domain right now.
That's cool. So yeah, I hear that, networking is important, and that's how you meet people sometimes, right? A lot of the time, right? So, and I assume this was like pre-COVID, right? When you actually went somewhere to meet somebody, right?
Correct. Yeah. This was pre-COVID, and it was. I mean, it was just he was presenting at the conference, and we just were kind of getting coffee together, and we started having conversation over near the coffee machine, and so it was crazy. I think it was just kind of crazy networking, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like, hey, that's how things happen, right? Like that's how connections are made, which is really neat.
Totally.
Why don't we go ahead and dive right in and talk about some agile methodologies and how they're applied in data science? Because I know you work on that a lot.
Sure. So for starters, just like a primer to Agile, right? So what Agile is it tries to build models in such a way that it focuses on iterative, incremental improvement. So you build smaller outputs, and then you kind of better them over time. That's the kind of main focus of Agile. Now, with data science, most agile methodologies can actually be used as they are, or they can be tweaked a little bit to fit into our data science world, because agile is more traditionally used for software development rather than
Right.
data science itself. But I mean, the methodologies that I have found most useful for data science are, the need to define the objective before you start a project,
Right.
kind of getting to know what you want to do, see the bigger picture. um, the other thing is building a backlog, and I think this is really important for data science because data science problems are so broad in a way that it's nice to have a backlog, kind of helps you focus. Also, by building user stories on that backlog, you're getting a lot of skin in the game from your stakeholders, from the business people, so they feel like they're a part of the project all the time. um, After that is mostly prioritizing your backlog, making sure what's important or what's most important. Um, and then the other thing is running your project in sprints, trying to do stand up as often as you can. I know Agile says every day, but I would just say like as often as you can, because that kind of increases team collaboration. And then the most important thing for me, rather two most important things for me, was retrospectives, right? So what did we not do right? You're bound to fail for data science. If you don't fail, you're doing something wrong. Your models are not going to work out the first time. So it's always nice to have kind of retrospectives and see what we can do better next time, and build MVPs. That's the second thing for me.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's very similar, but it's also not the same as it is in software development, right? And I
Exactly.
guess what would be some of the, I mean, I know you mentioned some of the benefits about the backlog, but maybe we could talk a little bit about some other benefits of
Mhm.
using this methodology in data science.
Okay, so like from perspective of what benefits would be, I think it's kind of important to focus on what data science problems look like, right?
Hmm.
So they're really, usually data science problems are really broad. They are more research oriented.
Got
They have a spectrum of things that you want to do. So when you're in that kind of situation, it basically helps to kind of define your problem, most importantly, um, uh, and form like a nice structured timeline of how you're going to solve that problem.
right.
Break it down into smaller pieces and chunks so that you can consume it well, where the team doesn't feel overwhelmed. um, and as I said, using like backlogs and user stories and stuff like that, the stakeholders have more skin in the game. So just to give you an example, Anna, data science problems are like that. Okay, so if I tell you, Anna, I want to go and buy apples, right?
Hmm.
You're going to say, okay, I'll get you apples. And then you run to the supermarket and buy a bag full of apples. But what I didn't tell you is I wanted green apples, not red apples. So you've gone and done all the work of buying me apples, but that's not what I really wanted, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is what essence of Agile brings to data science. It helps you define the problem better, helps you manage the problem in a given timeline, and it helps you like build trust with your stakeholders.
No, that sounds like it's a really nice way to work. And I guess what would be some of the differences? I know there's some people are probably like, oh, well, that's, more for software development. But how, like, I feel like maybe you could talk a little bit about the differences between how you would use it in data science versus in the development environment.
Right. So at the um, at the very base of this, um, what data science, so for software development, right? um, we have mostly two things: what does your customer want,
Hmm.
and what do the developers want to build what the customer wants,
Right.
right? With data science, one of the more different things is that we also have to understand the data. right? Um, what is the data telling you? That is the big question with data science. And in software development, that question does seldom arise. So that's the big difference between data science and software engineering by itself. So some of the data science folks observe that some agile methodologies work for data science while others don't. So the ones that mostly work for data science projects are stand-ups, Scrum meetings, collaboration over documentation, retrospectives, user stories. And the stuff that does not work for data science, at least in my experience, is mostly agile metrics like burn down charts, or like trying to measure performance in a way of demos, because traditionally agile says that you're supposed to give out a demo at the end of every sprint. But with data science, the thing is, you're not going to have a demo, because it's going to be a while even before you start actually coding for where you're getting to. Because your first few days are going to, or your first maybe or even one sprint is going to be about gathering the data, kind of understanding the problem. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. No, thank you so much for sharing. I've heard people talking about it a couple years ago, and it's nice to hear that people are applying it in the data science field as well.
Mhm.
So maybe for the last question, you could tell us a little bit, or maybe talk about if somebody really wants to get into data science, kind of what would your advice be for those people that are, especially women, that are trying to get into the space?
Sure. So I think women are naturally or biologically analytic in nature. And I think with this field of data science, that's a big plus, because that's what this is about, kind of looking into the nitty gritties of things. Um, and so I think we come with a natural flair for it. As far as getting into the field or breaking into the field is out there. There are like so many good resources online to go and learn from. I do that all the time, where I go on different courses like Coursera, Udacity,
Hmm.
Pluralsight. There are so many where we have wonderful professors who talk about different concepts. And I think one mistake that I made when I was trying to go through the whole grind was I wanted to learn everything very quickly, and I wanted to apply it very quickly, and I wanted results very quickly. But coming through this whole grind, I've realized it doesn't work like that. Uh,
Right.
you have to kind of give it the time that it needs. You have to understand the theory before you actually apply models. You have to understand what are the pros and cons of each model and stuff like that. So you have to get a little bit into the theory. It's not fun at all, but unless but unless that happens, I think you're not going to be able to actually be a good data scientist.
Right. Well, I think that's some really good advice. Thank you so much, Supriya, for joining us today. And I'm really excited about your talk, which is coming up in about 2 weeks on the 16th. And we actually dropped a link to register in the chat. And we'll have it's a free event. So come and join it. And be sure to also join us in person in Miami on the 17th. And thanks again, Supriya. It was really great to chat with you about Agile, and hopefully more data scientists get into that process. And it was just a pleasure. And I hope you and everybody else has a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for having me, and it was lovely chatting with you too. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.